Stacy the Black Feather Intuitive. Welcome to another episode of Pop Culture Readings. Around here, we're all about curiosity, clarity, and courage, understanding ourselves, each other, and the beautifully messy mystery of being human. And today we are diving into one of my favorite topics. We're doing a little sci-fi. Sometimes the biggest question isn't whether someone is talented enough for a role, it's whether they're ready for everything that comes with it. And today we are going to be discussing Ryan Gosling as the Ghost Rider. And I got to tell you, I'm super pumped about this one. So, all right, everyone is kind of going, wait, what? Him? Ryan Gosling as the Ghost Rider? What's that about? So let's talk about the heart of the story. Marvel made one of Comic-Con's biggest announcements this past weekend. Ryan Gosling is officially joining the MCU as the Ghost Rider. The standalone film will be directed by Sean Levy, who previously directed Deadpool and Wolverine and is currently planned already for 2028 for that release. Marvel made the announcement during its Hall H presentation at the San Diego Comic-Con. It's particularly fun because Gosling has danced around superhero franchises for years without ever joining one. And now apparently the character that finally got him is a supernatural motorcycle riding antihero whose head catches on fire naturally. So why do we care about this? Why are people, talking about all of this? Well, let's talk about Gosling for a second. He's such a versatile actor. He's gone from Drive to La La Land to Ken to sci-fi, and now he's doing this Ghost Rider, right? That Marvel energy. People genuinely don't know what his version of this character will look like, which makes it fabulous reading territory because we can just kind of, dive in and see exactly how he's going to approach it and have a little fun with it. There's also a reinvention piece here. Actors at his level don't need Marvel. So why choose this particular character? So let's get to the tea. It's always that fun gossip that everyone is looking forward to. So why Ghost Rider? What is Ryan Gosling seeing in this character that makes this the superhero he's apparently been waiting to play? Just from a spidey sense perspective, a psychic perspective, what I'm seeing here is that, they've pointed it out really well. The status of his acting is very high. So, he's like Moira in Schitt's Creek. I'm offer only. He doesn't necessarily have to audition. He gets offered roles. And this is one where I feel like he has a little creative license to do something that stretches him a little bit, but also something that's just fun. And I'm going to just share with you, I did a bunch of acting in my life. And yeah, I used to get cast all the time as the ingenue, the love interest, that typical, predictable lead character role. And I had more fun when I was playing something completely unexpected and something that is so polar opposite to anything that I, as the person as Stacy am. That's the fun of acting. And so I feel like he just likes the idea of being this anti-hero. I feel also like he liked Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool approach to things. And so he wants to kind of throw his hat in the ring and just see how anti-villain or anti-hero, I should say, and how villainous he can really be. But let's pull a card. Oh my God, you can't make this shit up, guys. We got the devil card. So I really feel like he's wanting to explore a shadow side of himself. He's wanting to go, dark and deep into the depths and play that role just for shits and giggles, just for fun. I honestly want to say to you, I think it's going to be a really good movie. I think it's going to be a success. And he's obviously going to bring his usual, A-star energy, A-plus energy to the game. But I really feel like he's doing this movie for himself. He's doing it just to have some fun, to be the devil, to have something that when his kids are much older, they can watch it and say, see, dad didn't always play these, cheesy, goofy roles or something really dramatic and serious. He could do some of this, kind of batshit crazy, fantastical stuff. That's what sci-fi and Marvel and DC Comics. That's what it's all about. Is the fantasy of it, taking those deeper aspects of our human nature and exaggerating them. How bad could it get? And I feel like we're witnessing that actually out in the world today, where we're seeing a lot of bad actors. And I don't mean literal actors. I mean, out in the world right now, we're seeing a lot of people who are, if you didn't know any better, you'd think that we were all living in an SNL skit, the Saturday Night Live skit. Well, Ryan Gosling is taking it a little step further, and I feel he's doing this just for him. So let's support him in that. I think that's fantastic. All right, the truth beneath it. Is Ghost Rider going to reveal a completely different side of Gosling as an actor? Or are we basically getting Ken on a flaming motorcycle? I feel like he's wanting to stretch himself. I feel like there's an approach to this character that there's an aspect of the approach that he's going to take that I want to say resembles the character, but I also see him taking it in a whole new direction. And, that might piss some of the fans off, the fans of, this Ghost Rider. They might not like the total approach that he takes, but if they can open their minds to his interpretation, I feel like underlying all of his choices as an actor through the portrayal of this character is going to be that Ghost Rider energy. And he's just going to put his own spin on it. Let's see what the cards have to say. Oh, interesting. Queen of Pentacles. So I definitely don't feel that you're going to get Ken on a flaming motorcycle, although I see that he's going to bring certain previous characters, a little bit of his characters into this. Not all of the characters, and it's not going to be super obvious, but I feel like it's going to be a bit of his process just to kind of twist and play around with the energy of the Ghost Rider. The Queen of Pentacles is the card of, you give a person a fish, they're going to eat for a day. You teach a person to fish, they're going to eat for a lifetime kind of energy. This is, come into my garden, take what you need. And, I'm going to help you to do this for yourself if you want to. And I feel like that is what we are going to see is he's going to it's almost going to be like a masterclass in how you can be the anti-hero. And I think he's just going to have a lot of fun with it. I'm almost seeing a lot of like where they break the wall, they call it the fourth wall. And, you break the wall and you're talking to the audience, you're having interaction with the audience. So your character is doing something, with another, set of characters in the scene, but you as the audience are also involved in that as well. So I feel like he's probably going to involve us in his thought process throughout this journey. So yeah, we're going to see kind of a different side of Gosling, and I think he's going to be very irreverent, and he's not going to take himself so seriously, and I think it's just going to be a riot. So I'm looking forward to it. All right, my favorite portion of this is the mirror word. Love it. What part of yourself have you been dying to unleash that would make everybody who thinks they know you say, wait, what? You? What is this all about? So I don't know about you guys, but I have actually gone through this a lot. Sometimes through my acting, sometimes just in life in general. I am an A type and I get, very structured and set in the right way to do things. And I want to say sometimes that just is flat out boring. Boring. And every once in a while, I'm like, how can I stretch myself outside the box? What could I do that would be so unbelievably unexpected that it would, have everybody's, jaws dropping and eyes popping out of their head? Like, you're doing what? You're doing this, you're doing that. And I want to say to you, it's not like I go to extremes when I'm doing these things, but whenever I have sort of let loose and tried, dipped my toes in the water with something like that, it's always so much fun. And I end up learning a little more about myself. Maybe it's something that I, continue to do, or I incorporate a little bit of that into my life moving forward. Maybe I'm like, okay, been there, done that, and bought the t-shirt. Glad I did it, but I don't need to do it again. It's an opportunity to kind of get to know yourself a little bit. And it's fun to kind of fuck with other people around you in a gentle way, in a kind way, in a good way, because you're doing it about yourself. So let's see what the cards have to say. Yeah, Four of Cups. So this is a card of despondency. You're feeling despair. There's a bit of delay around this. This is a card of integration. So I feel like, we couldn't have picked a better card for this. What part of yourself have you been dying to unleash that would make everybody who thinks they know you say, wait, you? It's the part where you're like, God, like I'm sick and tired of doing the same old shit over and over again. I need to infuse a little excitement into my life. And even if it's not a permanent infusion, damn, if it's not fun while I'm doing it. So look at yourself this week and figure out what aspect of yourself really wants to come out. If you're watching pop culture, if you're listening to music, you're, following along with all your favorite peeps, there's a part of you that starts to imagine, who could I be? I wonder what I would be like if I was on stage. I wonder what I would be like if I got to choose that role. Maybe you can even ask yourself, what anti-hero role would you want to play? Whether it's through Marvel or Comic-Con, or, just someone in the movies or in your favorite show. Who's the anti-hero that you would like to play? And then just sort of, I want to say, play around with the idea of what that might look like in your everyday life. How can you, take one step towards breaking outside the box and just throwing a little spice into your life? I think we all need to do that from time to time. All right, guys. Excuse me. Sorry. I just got all caught up there. So that is our pop culture segment for this episode. Remember, curiosity gets us in the door. Clarity helps us understand what we're seeing. And courage is what we do with what we've learned. Until I see you for another episode of Pop Culture Readings, sending lots of love and support. We'll see you on the flip side, and transform well.